Here's a disturbing missing person story for you guys. Around 1 a.m., August 8th, 2013, 26-year-old Brandon Lawson was in a field in Texas and called 911. In the call, it's hard to hear what he says, but he sounds distressed and panicked. He gets cut off, and then he is never heard from again. In the call, it sounds like he ran into something and then was chased through the woods. He sounds very distressed.
911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. It's like we're just pushing guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. Got chased through the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
I'm not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
Got the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
The call is pretty terrifying. The thing is, Brandon actually had a felony warrant out for his arrest. But he was more scared of whatever he ran into, whoever he ran into, out there in the middle of nowhere, than he was of going back to jail because he specifically requests police. Let's go back and get the whole story. Brandon Lawson was a 26-year-old man from San Angelo, Texas. He was an oil field worker, partner and father of 4 children. August 8th, 2013 was the last time that Brandon was seen in San Angelo. He and his longtime girlfriend got into an argument which led to Brandon leaving the home at around 11:54 p.m. with the intentions of going to his father's residence. Approximately 45 minutes later, Brandon called his brother Kyle to tell him he had run out of gas. Following his phone call to his brother Kyle, something happened and Brandon phoned 911. He advised the dispatcher that he was in a field and needed help and needed police help. Another call was made to 911 by a passerby regarding Brandon's truck parked crooked on the side of the road, posing a hazard. That 911 call Brandon made was the last he was ever heard from. A few minutes later, somebody else, a passerby, called 911 also and said that they had seen a truck, Brandon's truck, parked dangerously on the side of the road. So then Kyle and Kyle's girlfriend, they go out to bring Brandon their gas can, as Brandon had, before he called 911, said he was out of gas. Kyle and his girlfriend phoned Brandon's partner to tell her that Brandon ran out of gas and he needed their gas can. She told him she would leave it on the porch as she was going to have a shower and head to bed. Kyle's check, however, it didn't clear in his bank account, so he didn't have money to fill the gas can. But he figured that when he got to Brandon, they could drive together to a nearby mart, Brandon could pay for the gas, and then he would drive him back to his truck, and Kyle and his girlfriend could be on their way home. So Kyle and his girlfriend, they go to Brandon's house, they pick up an empty gas can, and they go to Brandon's truck. However, the second 911 call, the one by the passerby who seen the truck parked awkwardly, that led to a sheriff's deputy being sent out. He arrived at about the same time as Kyle and his girlfriend did. Details though of the call, the passerby who seen the truck, that call has never been made public, so who knows who that was, what it was about. Maybe they have more information, we'll get into it. The truck was located on US 227, 4.5 miles south of Bronte, Texas, and close to a rest stop, parked haphazardly. By the time Kyle arrived at 1:10 a.m., August 9th, there was no sign of Brandon. And this would have been, within 20 minutes of Brandon's 911 call. There was no visible damage to Brandon's truck, and his keys and his cell phone were missing. it is understood that neither the deputy or Kyle were aware that Brandon himself had phoned 911. While talking with the deputy, Kyle received a call from Brandon in which Brandon's cell was going in and out and he was hard to understand. Brandon claimed he was 10 minutes up the road. He also mentioned that he was bleeding. The phone went dead at this point. What Kyle understood was, "I'm in the field." Kyle felt maybe Brandon was hiding in the field due to an outstanding warrant from 2 years ago, so Kyle made no mention to the deputy of Brandon being the phone call he was listening to. Had Kyle known that Brandon himself had called 911, he probably would have mentioned it to the deputy and he wouldn't have assumed he was hiding from the police. There was an extensive search of the area. Nothing ever turned up and he was never seen nor heard from again. And even Brandon's family were unaware that he himself had called 911 until they viewed the cell phone records later. There has been no activity on Brandon's bank accounts or his cell phone since that time. An extensive search was conducted by Professional Search and Rescue on October 24th, 2013, around the area of the abandoned truck. Brandon's family doesn't believe that his outstanding felony warrant is connected to his disappearance, and they also believe he would not have run from the police because of it. He worked in the oil industry at the time of his disappearance and left behind 4 children, 3 with his girlfriend and 1 from a prior relationship. Although investigators have stated that there's no evidence of foul play in this case, his family stated it's uncharacteristic of him to leave without warning, and they were afraid for his safety. He is classified as an involuntarily missing person, and his case remains unsolved. So, what happened to Brandon Lawson? The local newspaper of Coke County, the Observer Enterprise, which, it should be noted, is owned by the sheriff of the county, published some interesting reports. The newspaper is run by Melinda McCutcheon, wife of Sheriff McCutcheon. Posts titled, "Law Enforcement Concludes Man is Not in Coke County," which is, unless they have information that says otherwise, impossible to prove. There have been many misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and blatant lies shared on Facebook over the last almost 8 weeks regarding the missing man Brandon Lawson. It ends with, "In conclusion, there were many poor decisions made that night and during the next few days. However, they weren't made by the Coke County Sheriff's Office." Almost like she has a vested interest in defending the sheriff. What are the odds? Here's another statement. "The driver was not at the vehicle when Chief Deputy Brandon Neal arrived just after 1 a.m. However, at this time, investigation has revealed that Brandon Lawson was hiding in the bush due to an outstanding felony warrant, watching Deputy Neal while speaking to his brother, Kyle Lawson, on his cell phone." Does that strike you as maybe a little bit odd? You know, considering the fact that Brandon called 911 specifically asking for police help. Why would he hide when they actually showed up? So let's go back and take another look at that phone call. A popular theory is that Brandon encountered some kind of situation on the highway that night. Some have raised the possibility of police involvement. However, this doesn't mean that the authorities are responsible for his disappearance at all. He could have encountered something else entirely that just wasn't investigated properly, or it was mishandled by police. Brandon's 911 call certainly makes it sound as though there are multiple parties involved. Another thing is that people have raised the possibility that there were people with Brandon when he makes the call, as some think you can hear other voices in the background of his call. Details about the other 911 call, the call made by the passerby who seen Brandon's truck, that's never been made public. So who knows who that was? It was anonymous. Did they know something happened? Maybe they have more information. It would have been made very shortly after Brandon's call and they were in the same area, so who knows about that. It also came out that at about 12:30, when Brandon called Kyle, he said, 3 expletives are chasing me out of town. The Mexicans in the neighborhood. Kyle then asked if he was tripping, if he was on drugs causing him to hallucinate, but Brandon denied it was all in his head. So was he chased out of town? Was he on drugs? Some have speculated that he wasn't in his normal state of mind. His previous warrant was for drugs, and he may have relapsed, though the last person to see him alive, his partner, said he was not under the influence that night. He was also stressed out. They had argued and Brandon was about to start a new job. An audio specialist enhanced the call, changing the transcript a little but still largely inconclusive.
911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. The tank was just pushing guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here that got shaken to the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
I'm not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
Got the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yeah. No, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
So that's kind of all we have to go on. Who knows what happened to Brandon Lawson? If he was under the influence, you'd think he would have been more careless, there would be tracks, scuffle, that sort of thing. If he was murdered, you think maybe it might be blood. Again, there'd be some kind of scuffle marks, probably. Track marks, at least. If he tried to make himself disappear by just walking off into the desert, you'd think, again, there would be tracks, and an extensive search was conducted shortly after. I think he would have found something. If the police made him disappear, well, that's something else entirely. It is a strange and bizarre case. People are still searching for him. There are many websites and web pages dedicated to finding out what happened to Brandon Lawson. The sheriff's office say they regularly get calls asking if there has been any new information uncovered. But to them, it's a unsolved, closed, cold case. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you would like to see more. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on this below. If anything else has been uncovered, I'd love to hear it. Thanks, guys. All the best. Take care of yourselves. Mike out.